If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Developing situation in the 98th minute. Everton with the equalizer against Liverpool. But now we go to VAR to check the offsides. And this must have been a nice ticket. Now they're checking. I always
Draw
love this.
plus 360.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They always, they said 5 minutes of added time, yet the goal occurs in the 98th minute. About what happened, right? Oh, the shenanigans in soccer. So we'll see if it sticks here as they're looking at the review. We'll see if Everton gets the equalizer. Jeff Sherman joins us now. Oddsmaker, manager at the Westgate down the street. He's on the Progressive Guest Line. Follow him on X. Does a great job at golf odds. How was the Super Bowl, my friend?
Very well. Very well for us. I'd quantify it as solid. And, we were one of the first books to go down to 1 on Kansas City from 1.5, which what prevailed on the market early. When we went through the props, we really arrived at the conclusion. We thought that the Eagles should be favored, but we understood why Kansas City went off favored because there was so much public money on Kansas City with the support they've gotten the last couple of years from Mahomes. But the Eagles are the side that we thought, and that's what we went in with.
Did the props went very well too? So many guys under?
Yeah. We did very well with the props, except for at the end of the game. There were a couple props that came into play when Pickett came in the game, and the extra pass attempt and the kneel down, and there were a few things that were affected by the end of the game, but overall, very well.
Okay. Do you know what the worst prop was? Was it over 2.5 players to attempt to pass and Pickett getting in the game?
No, actually, the worst prop for us was DeAndre Hopkins scoring a touchdown at 5-1.
Wow.
Yeah, we had quite a bit of money on him, and the public bet him over his receiving yards, but the 5-1 payoff is what was problematic for us.
Okay, excellent. And it was the best Barkley under stuff? No touchdown?
No, the best one, this is surprising, but Harrison Butker under 1.5 field goals made.
Wow.
We had so much over 1.5. It opened over $1.20 and went off up to $1.75. So just continuous one-way support on the over.
Jeff, was that you guys that were sweating out the both teams to score a touchdown in the game? Because I remember talking to John on Sunday. I think it was him who told us you guys desperately needed both teams to score a touchdown, and it didn't look like they might get that in the third quarter.
Yeah, we had some liability on that, and there's always on those type of things with, you have so many index props, and you have, Kansas City not ending with a touchdown and paying off nicely, and so there's no question that there's liability all up and down the board, and you're like, what do we need here? What do we need here? And that was one of them.
What was the price, John?
Oh,
I don't know. I think what did you guys have? Because I know that you guys
never saw that.
Yeah, you needed both teams to score a touchdown, but John never told me what the price was.
Yeah, I don't recall what the price was. Like I said, we had so many of those index props, and a few of the other guys were monitoring those.
Okay, the goal counts. Everton ties it 2-2 in the 98th minute. Incredible finish in the Premier League.
Murray's in trouble with his Liverpool.
Yeah, that's going to be a bad beat rivalry. Excellent. So let's talk about golf now, and let me start with this. If he was going to play, what were you going to make the odds on Tiger Woods in the Genesis?
Yeah, I had him penciled in at 250 to 1, and this is a course he had won 8 times previously, and even the U.S. Open when he beat Rocco Mediate there. But his only golf recently has been TGL golf, so he would have been 250 to 1 this week.
Ooh, wow! Is it over? He'll never win another tournament?
I don't believe he will. It's unless TGL counts. But
No.
I don't think he will. So,
okay.
But it's great to see him out there. I mean, he moves the needle for me, and I was all looking forward to watching him play on Thursday. I set plans aside to watch him, but now I got an open day to do other things.
Well, no, but that's a bad. You can't tell people that, though. You just take your day. Do whatever you want.
No, I just Tiger's my guy. I love watching him play. So I'll watch him next week when he returns. I know he's going through with the death of his mother. So when he comes back, I'll be looking forward to it.
What kind of golfer we look for in these in this kind of a tournament, Jeff? What kind of archetypes do we want in terms of stats and what they do well on the course?
Well, it's a shot maker's course. It's challenging, just like a U.S. Open. I set the winning score at 7.5 under par. It's been bet down to 8.5 under par. But they're only playing the South course, not the easy North course, like they did in the Farmers Insurance a few weeks ago. So par is going to be a good score here. It's going to be very challenging. Top of the leaderboard, Scheffler. I opened him at 9-2. Took some initial money on him, went down to 4, but now it's subsided, and I've raised him up to 5-1. And we're seeing a lot of support for Rory from 8 down to 7. And, it's a very well-supported tournament with the names in this and a historic course like this.
Who do you play? Who'd you play? Who do you like?
I didn't get too involved because I've been so deep into the football and wrapping that stuff up. The only thing I put a small amount on is Rasmus Højgaard, 40-1. I like the way that he's been playing since he got his PGA Tour card at the start of the season. I think he's ultra talented, and you're going to see big things from him over the course of the season. So, the 40 to 50-1 range, I think trying to get it now before it goes lower.
Follow the money. Paulie and Jonathan Von Tobel, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Talking to Jeff Sherman at the Westgate at Golf Odds on X. He's on the Progressive guest line. The Lakers are tremendous for business, and people come from Southern California, and it's a Laker town. They can't get enough. How about all the Laker future money? You put up 20-1, it won't stop. You keep lowering it. Tell us what you're at now.
It's been a lot of movement over the past couple of weeks. I had him at 50-1 before the Luka trade, and after that, lowered him to 20. And then there wasn't too much at that point. And then when they traded for Mark Williams, I lowered him to 14 because they filled a need there. But then when that got rescinded, I put him back to 20-1 since they were lacking that again. But since that time, and with everyone in town for the Super Bowl, we've been inundated at 20-1, 16, 14. I'm down to 12-1. And one of the things that we had out on Twitter was we took a $3,500 parlay.
Yes.
The Lakers at 20-1 for the title, to the Dodgers at plus 240 for the title. It pays $246,000. So we have a lot of things like that floating around out there, and involvement with the Lakers. And the odds, you're never going to find the true value on them. It was almost like when you were betting Tiger Woods in the past few years. You don't find the true value because everyone bets on him or on the Lakers. So they're lower than they should actually be. But we have to react to the support out there, and you can maybe find some value in other teams that get raised up because they're lower.
Where should they actually be? The Lakers, by your measure, what are the true odds for them? And in the Western Conference, how many teams would you put in front of them?
Well, I would have them. I think they're going to be good and get some time together. I would still have them about 20-1. I think is fair if we weren't overwhelmed with it. And I have them behind Denver. Memphis, I have them right there with Memphis. Memphis is 30-1, but Memphis doesn't see any kind of support in the future book.
Yeah.
So we do so well on them, and we can afford to be high because we're trying to write money on them. But there's a few teams like that. I thought if they were healthy, Dallas would have posed a problem in the playoffs for some teams, but they have been absolutely decimated all across their center position, and they're going to be a challenge to get back healthy. So I don't know if they're even going to be in position because they're in the play-in area that they can do some noise. But, Denver is going to be a handful for the Lakers because Jokic, he always is, and, Alex Len isn't the answer to guard Jokic. He can go out there and take a couple fouls and things like that. But, we'll see. I think it's a position that the Lakers need to address in the offseason. Look forward to next year and being improved off that. I still think it's a little bit premature for them this year based on some of their weaknesses.
Yeah. We were talking during the break. We can find Adam Silver at Hoover Dam if it's OKC Memphis in the conference finals, even though that'd be sexy. But you're talking about two small markets, though.
Yeah, TV ratings wise, and that would be something I would be tuned in for because I think it'd be tremendous basketball. But for a handle standpoint, and viewership, it would be down a bit. And if it were Lakers Denver or Lakers OKC in the conference finals, the farther the Lakers go, the better for our business, and it's driven like that. So, we have some liability on them, but if they can go far and make the Western Conference Finals, we'll write so much on the games and the series prices, it would be great.
Any big bets on the NBA tonight, and did you play anything?
It's such a large card. We've just had a lot of player movement because of players in and out. I only played one thing, and I played the Bulls first half +3 against the Pistons because they just played yesterday, and the Pistons blew their doors off. And usually when a pro team gets embarrassed like that, you get a tremendous effort out of them at the start of the next game. So that's an angle I look for.
71-29. Man, if they cover +3, what happened yesterday?
Yeah, well, I'm going in with it tonight.
All right. Great job, my man. Great answers, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
I looked at that 3 times. I go, is this a real score?
I refreshed it. Yeah, I thought it was
What
like,
is this?
sometimes
It's like-
the score bug's a little off. ESPN's page is kind of doesn't. It's a little wonky
I know.
sometimes.
It's like
That's insane.
It's like the breaking news with the trade. I go, is this shams?
Oh, I swore I could have sworn.
hacked?
I responded to everybody. It's hacked. Like I just put my phone down. I'm like,
Why'd you
I'm
do
not
that?
even going to look at that. That can't be real.
Uh-huh.
It's still rage inducing seeing him in that Lakers uniform.
I don't know what to do with Denver. The best player in the world, okay, but you still have Murray and Porter and Gordon. I still can't believe how they blew that series against Minnesota. And then also the resurgence in the weird career with Westbrook.
Yeah.
He was terrible last year for the Clippers. Horrendous in the playoffs. And now I guess because you play with the best player, it helps.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But can you count on the guy to make a shot when
I
it
don't
counts
think
from
so.
the outside in a big game?
And all year long, their defense has been terrible.
Yeah.
And it's been really bad down the stretch.
Win-lose up next. A lot of people didn't like it, but it set a record, and one team is on an 18-2-1 run in college hoops next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Go up to Dallas up next. Talk to RJ Choppy, the fan. And he'll set the scene about what's going on there. And I can't recall this ever in 40 years watching sports. And certainly, what were the Mavs? Where were they in the pecking order before Dirk? That they didn't.
Oh, yeah.
They were good with Aguirre in some years, but then how bad they were. And Kevin O'Connor covers the NBA. It's so sad to see the Mavs organization crumble. Ejecting a passionate fan base and several fans, including a 12-year-old. You can't have any signs that say "Fire Nico." They do karaoke in the arena. They put the guy in the jumbotron and he mouths "Fire Nico" and they throw him out. Jason Kidd, which this isn't my scene, but people who cover the NBA say this never happens. He wouldn't meet with the media after the game. Sometimes it only takes 4 minutes.
Yep.
And we refused to speak postgame. No medical update on Anthony Davis, the injured player you just acquired for your 25-year-old face of the franchise. And Dirk, Mr. Mav, goes to Luka's debut in Los Angeles. So then you have, going back to what the players said in the game against Houston, Klay Thompson included, that they were anticipating it to be like a road game. And they thought they're going to treat it like a road game. So while the fans are, the guys that are actually playing, root them on, and they've had some good performances, it's not like getting blown out, but blew that game against Sacramento and beat Houston because AD was awesome. But then, in what likely is the worst trade in NBA history, got worse because in his first game after dominating, Davis got hurt, no update, said afterwards, I should be okay, could miss half the remaining games, maybe misses the rest of the season. And then you come out and they're having funerals, the GM's getting death threats, and then if you say or have signs that say "Fire Nico," they are kicking you out of the arena. Could you do a worse job handling this?
No, unless you would have the owner maybe go on a podcast and then list off some NBA greats and forget to list off the fact that Dirk Nowitzki
All right. There's another
actually
one.
played for your team.
There's another one.
It's been an absolute nightmare. There's not a single person who thinks that this trade is something that was smart to do, that made any sense whatsoever. You've completely shortened up your timeline by going and trying to get Anthony Davis. Maybe there is a year in which Anthony Davis gives you 75-plus games and is a Defensive Player of the Year MVP candidate. Maybe that's going to happen. You also, by the way, with this deal, hand all of the leverage over to a, we'll call it, guy who has some fleeting loyalties at times, in Kyrie Irving.
Oh, yeah.
Mercurial in Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
He's got all the leverage in the world now. You are now building around Kyrie. Kyrie goes from being secondary piece to the guy. You need him to come back. You need him to be the dude. So you give him all the leverage in the world. And in 5 years, everything could be gone because you traded away Luka Doncic. And you're banking on the fact that maybe he's going to turn into a fat, blubbery mess. Maybe he's going to go to L.A. and he's going to be out of shape and he'll always be hurt. But this guy plays so much basketball. Yeah. He plays in the summer for his national team.
Good point.
He plays in deep NBA runs, like postseason runs. He's been to multiple conference finals already, ended NBA finals. There is no universe
Yeah.
in which this made sense, and the way you've been handling it, it's always like the cover up is worse than the crime. It's the same thing here. Your actions afterward have made it so much worse with what you're doing here. Mm-hmm. Just take your medicine. If you believe in it this much, take the people telling you that you should fire Nico, because then you can prove to them that they were wrong the whole time. And instead, now you're here. Gafford gets hurt, which makes it 1,000 times worse.
Right.
You have nobody playing center for you now. You could slip because you're only about a game and a half out of 10th right now.
That's the thing.
Yes.
They could miss the play-in entirely.
Yes.
How's that trade look then?
Remember 2 years ago when they traded for Kyrie Irving? And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, what's happening here? What the hell is going on? And then they slip out of the play-in entirely. They tank to go get Derek Lively. Remember, they could have stayed active. They were mathematically alive. And they sat Luka, remember? Yeah. Because they wanted the 10th overall pick, because they wanted to keep the pick to go get Lively. You could do the same thing here. Difference is you don't have Luka Doncic to rely on in the next season to potentially bounce back and get you to the NBA Finals.
I said the day after the trade, I used the analogy in comparison to Randy Moss, where it was, well, he takes plays. There's no but when you average 90 catches, 1,600 yards, and 12 touchdowns, right? Mm-hmm. When your bad year, you're 29, 8, and 7. There's no but. He's 25. He just went to the finals a couple years ago with a lousy roster. He carried you to the Western Conference Finals. What are you doing? Fran Fraschilla. I can't believe the new Mavs owner's trashing Luka. Then the next thing to come out was like, we were concerned about the Achilles, and then taking a vacation and out of shape. Mm-hmm. I've been watching this kid since he was 16. I know some of the behind-scenes stuff. Here's some perspective. This comes from an all-time NBA evaluator. Never, ever trade a young superstar. They're too hard to find. He killed himself playing year-round for 2 or 3 seasons, representing both the Mavs and Slovenia national team. Few superstars would do that. They treated Jalen Brunson like a second-round pick, right up until the time he signed with the Knicks. You'll learn that Dallas is first, last, and always a Cowboys town, but Dirk made it cool to be a Mavs fan. The people who pay for front-row seats wouldn't know a pick and roll from picking your nose, but they came to games and they gave us Dirk 20 years, and Luka was going to give you 15 more. Mark Stein. The last time the Mavs played a game without Dirk or Luka was April 1998. Never underestimate ego as a decision maker. A future Hall of Famer is gone, and a potential future Hall of Famer is with the Knicks. As Rob Pelinka said, we got a gift. We're talking about a 25-year-old that's a top 3 player in the universe. We know he walked into something. So then you talk about Dumont. What were the chants at the game?
Well, so it was before the game where they were chanting, I think it was on Monday, he's not fat, bring him back, over and over again, referring to Luka Doncic.
Okay.
He's not fat, bring him back, over and over again, which is absolutely brilliant because, hey, look, he's a little fat, but you got to bring him back. You can't do it.
Yeah. It's hilarious to say he's 25, even though we went to the finals, but we're concerned about he's overweight and his playing weight and he could get hurt, and we don't want to give him that money. And then you trade for a guy who's always hurt, and his nickname is Street Clothes.
Yep.
And he gets hurt in the first game.
I mean, that's the problem is you can't cite availability, essentially, as the problem for a guy that has mostly been available playing year-round basketball and then shorten your window and trade for a guy who has had availability issues throughout the entirety of his career. It really rings hollow when you go and do something like that. And it makes us think again, you always say, don't urinate, tell us it's raining. It doesn't. It does not add up at this point right now. And you'd have more respect for the organization if they were to just come out and go, look, we're new owners. We don't want to pay that money. Right? He's going to see he was eligible for the Supermax. He was eligible to make more money with Dallas than any other team, obviously. He was going to put pen to paper. There was no reason why you would even try to float that out there that they were worried that he wouldn't. He would have. And just say you didn't want to pay him. Just say you didn't want to do it. And I think a lot of people would have more respect for that than trying to disguise this as something else than what it really is, which is you being cheap, which, again, you go back to why in the world would you buy a basketball team if you were afraid? Because the end goal outside of getting the NBA Finals is getting a player of Luka Doncic caliber and building around him for 15-ish years. And then for Schilla's tweet, it brings up the greatest point of all. 2.5 years ago, they were in the Western Conference Finals with Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic on the roster.
Yeah.
And now here they are, potentially slipping out of it, both of them on 2 different teams. It's insanity what they've done here with the 2 players they've had.
Sorry, you had this incredible asset. You only called one team. Hey, Rob, let's get some coffee. Here's Dumont, who married into the Adelson family, now running things at the game when they booed him. Are they booing me? Are they booing me? Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Of course they are.
Yeah. Well, that was loud. He's taking his seat front row, and he looks to his bar. Are they booing me? Mm-hmm. Oh, they brought it.
And then they go on to blow that game to the Kings. Double-digit lead late in that game, and then they blow it, losing overtime.
Here's his comment. Dallas Morning News. In my mind, the way teams win is by focus, by having the right character, right culture, and having the right dedication. I'll come back to that word. Dedication to work as hard as possible to create a championship-winning outcome. And if you're not doing that, you're going to lose. If you look at the greats in this league, the people you and I grew up with, Jordan, Bird, Kobe, Shaq, they worked really hard every day with a singular focus to win. And if you don't have that, it doesn't work. And if you don't have that, you shouldn't be part of the Mavs. That's who we want. I'm unwavering on this. The entire organization knows it. This is how I operate outside of basketball. It's the only way to be competitive and win. If you want to take a vacation, don't do it with us. The guy in the Dallas Morning News points out when he won his third title with the Lakers, Shaq said, I played at 400 pounds. Kobe loved him. Also, Phil Jackson dedicated a whole chapter in his book to how difficult he was to coach, and he was a tough teammate.
The Mamba mentality stuff came later in his career.
Yeah. He was tough. He looks a little on the pudgy side, but he averages 29, 9, and 8, and then he was the favorite this year to win the MVP going into the season.
And the organization, look, I know it's under new leadership, but still the front office in terms of the execs remain somewhat the same. This is an organization that enabled Luka every step of the way. He screamed at them in the NBA Finals to challenging F and play because of the way they handled it. They were comfortable, and then you turn around like, too much, can't do it.
Yep. RJ Choppy, the fan in Dallas. More on this mess and what it's going to be like moving forward, and if the Mavs are fade material on Follow the Money, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We continue what's going on in Dallas with our friend RJ Choppy, the fan in Dallas, 105.3 Fallmont Exit. RJ Choppy, he joins us now on the Progressive Guest Line. He was so good a couple weeks ago on the Cowboys and Schottenheimer. Well, Jerry Jones caught a break. No one's talking about Schottenheimer now. How are you?
Whoo, man. What a couple of weeks here, right?
Yeah, I can't believe it. And I'm sure you're stunned as well. How about how bad it's been that we're not going to show fans on the Jumbotron anymore?
Well, I mean, this organization has shown over the last, I don't know, I guess 10 days, how sensitive they are. And it's really to the point where they're becoming the most hated ownership group in town and the most hated front office in town. And that's saying a lot because there was a time, just a couple of weeks ago where the ownership group was loved and the front office and the general manager was loved. But what a role reversal. We have not seen anything like this in DFW in my 28 years here. I
said before you came on, I've been covering sports for 20 years, and I've never seen this before, let alone Dallas. You're kicking fans out of games. The T-shirts and how sensitive they are, and what Dumont said to the Morning News. You just went to the finals. You haven't been a laughingstock for 10 years.
It's embarrassing. And the thing that hacks fans off the most, the ownership group just got here. Like they just got here, and we haven't seen the impact, and I'm sure they've invested in the community, but we just haven't seen the impact of it yet, right? Like you get here and all of a sudden you don't know really anything about the town. You probably couldn't tell me where Reunion Arena was to begin with.
Okay.
And then you ship off the young player that we love. And if you knew anything about DFW sports, outside of the Cowboys are different, right? But DFW sports, the fans here want to be able to like the team they're rooting for. Like that's important. We loved the Nowitzki era so much. We would rather have won the singular title with Dirk than get a bunch of mercenaries in here and win 3 or 4. Like that's just the nature of DFW as a sports town. Again, Cowboys are different. Football is different. The other sports, we want to be able to like who we're rooting for. Luka was one of ours. Like we loved him, and it was ripped out of our hearts.
How'd you feel about trashing them on the way out and what they're doing now with character assassination, body shaming, everything?
It's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, okay, yes, Luka is not. He doesn't look like Shannon Sharp with his shirt off in his prime, right? Okay, we get it, right? But it doesn't mean that he's 25 years old. Who at 25 takes their life? Your 20s are fun. Mm-hmm. Very few people in their 20s are what they are at 30. So you didn't have to worry about the second apron for 3 more years. You could have signed him and not worried about that. You didn't have to worry about his body breaking down for a couple years because he's 25 years old and he just went to the finals. And when the guy is on the floor, he's the best player on the floor, and he's on. It's not like he misses 40 games a year. It's not like he's Joel Embiid. And then you also bring in the guy Anthony Davis, who also never plays. So the trashing him on the way out, I think it's just low. It's low. I can't imagine. I can't imagine Kyrie Irving opts in to next year. I wouldn't. I can't. Klay Thompson. Klay came here to go play with Luka, and all of a sudden, a couple of months in, he's gone. It's a mess, man. It's a mess.
RJ, how much you talk about the mess, and then we see Daniel Gafford go down the other day. How bad does this get on the court? How bad are they going to be defensively? What are they going to do at center moving forward?
Well, that's the thing. Okay, so but you already had Derek Lively be out.
Yep.
And now you got Anthony Davis, AD is out. And then now you add the Gafford thing. That's 2 weeks at a minimum. I mean, it's not like 2 weeks he returns. No, 2 weeks they reevaluate him. So they've got nobody. They've got nobody in the middle. They moved, they traded Maxey. So he's not a center, but he's 7 feet tall. He can at least give you some minutes and get you some rebounds. So they're going to struggle. Like there's a legitimate chance this team doesn't even make the playoffs right now.
They're going to be a bad defensive team. DeMar lights them up the other day. Fun game in overtime, but they end up losing, blowing a double-digit lead in the fourth. Is that going to be representative of what they are? High-scoring, bad defense?
Well, I mean, defensively, P.J. Washington's out too. He's a good defensive player. Max Christie, the Max Christie pickup is interesting because he can play defense on the perimeter. Klay has not been terrible defensively. You just don't want to manage his minutes. You don't want Klay out there playing 34 minutes a night at his age. Kyrie is a liability defensively, and quite frankly, in the playoffs, you got a smaller guard. It does sometimes get tough for them to score. He didn't have a great series against Oklahoma City last year. Did really well against Minnesota. But, I mean, it's defensively, this team is going to be – there was a chance. When they're healthy, they're a nightmare to deal with, but they're not healthy.
Yep. 6.5-point dogs tonight at home against the Warriors. -185 to miss the playoffs. RJ Choppy, our guest, the fan in Dallas on the Progressive Guest Line. Follow the money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Can you tell us the scene, what it's been like outside the stadium, how bad it's been?
It's been, I mean, look, we are not this is not a pitchfork town. This is not a protest town. I've never seen anything like it. We've never, I've lived here since 1997. I've been doing radio here since 2002. I've never seen them protest the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are the only team in town that doesn't have a championship since the turn of the century, and they've never been protested. And, meanwhile, every other team in town has been to at least, 3 and championship series?
Yeah.
3 championship series. And every one of them's won a title. And the Cowboys have it. No one protests the Cowboys. This was such a complete and utter shock. It took over Radio Row at the Super Bowl. It's taken over our radio station. We talk Cowboys, 75% of the sports we talk is football related. It has completely taken over everything. I've never seen anything like it.
Were you outside for the "he's not fat, bring him back" chants? And is that the greatest chant ever created?
Greatest chant. I was not there. Greatest chant ever created. Yeah. It was. Look. It's the community has really come together on this. Like this is nobody can. Nico Harrison and Patrick Dumont did the unthinkable. They brought everyone together, old, young. They brought all the ethnicities and races together. They brought all the political sides together. The only enemy is Nico and Patrick Dumont right now.
Wow. So what's the most egregious thing you've seen in terms of kicking someone out or how they've been treating fans, Jumbotron, 12-year-old kids, can't have that sign, etc.?
Yeah, there was 3 fans that at least sent something to us where they had put tape. They put like duct tape over their Mavericks logo. They made them take the tape off.
Oh.
One person had a shirt that had the Nike swoosh and it said "Fire Nico, just leave" instead of "just do it." They wouldn't let him in the building.
Oh.
The one guy that was on the Jumbotron, they were doing like a karaoke, starts singing, and there's a close-up shot of him, and he yells out, he mouths "Fire Nico," and he gets booted out, escorted out of the building. Mark Cuban cursing at fans, or at least that's the report.
I saw
that he was cursing his fans for screaming. I mean, none of that is good. They have done this. There needs to be a PR class, a lesson taught on this in college of how not to operate a major company during the time of crisis. This is a what's not to do.
RJ, you mentioned one of the most, I think, interesting developments, too, is they have now handed all of the leverage over to Kyrie Irving here, who's got a player option. What's he been like with this team? He seems to have been quiet by his standards. He's been a pretty good soldier. How do you think that dynamic plays out now that he's got all the power here?
I mean, it all depends on how he likes AD. He does have all the power. He does have that player option. He likes playing with Luka. I don't know. Like they took, even his window. The Mavericks didn't have to make a decision yet, 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. They manufactured a window that didn't need to be manufactured. And they took a 10-year window and they made it 3. So if you're Kyrie Irving, it's like, why would I stick around here? We're really going to be better than we were. I suspect he's with the Lakers next year if they can afford him.
Yeah. Wow. How big was it that Dirk was at Luka's first game in L.A.?
I don't speak German, but that sounds like "F-you, Nico" in German. That's what that sounded like to me. I don't know what he said. That spoke volumes. Like, it doesn't get any more embarrassing if you're the Mavericks front office than that. But you know what? Like, from what I've heard, the ownership group hasn't embraced Dirk. He's kind of feels like he's been pushed aside. They're drawing a line in the sand. This is our team. This is not the Cuban era. This is not the Don Carter era before that. This is our era. And what I'm gathering is that Luka doesn't have much of a relationship with them. I'm sorry, Dirk doesn't have much of a relationship with them anyway.
Incredible job. Great to talk to you. Go get him tonight. Thank you for a few minutes.
Thank you, guys.
RJ Choppy, the fan in Dallas. That is nuts. Oh, more thoughts on that coming up. And we got a big one at the top of the hour. St. John's and Villanova. And the college basketball card next. VSiN, Follow the Money.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Little golf, college hoops coming up with Matt Youmans. Joins us now on the Progressive guest line. He had the Eagles 16-1 before the season started on a future to win the Super Bowl. Matt, did you get it creative and do anything before the game with your future ticket?
Nothing before the game. I didn't want to, when you talk about a 1-point favorite, there's not much you can do there. I actually also played the Eagles and the over on a teaser, but I took a mental shot during the game on the Chiefs live, a +3.5, about 10% of my bet, and I regretted that not too long later because it was pretty obvious, I thought, by late first quarter or early second quarter that the Eagles were going to win that game and probably win the game going away. So, I did take one small mental shot, but that's it. And it's nice to cash Super Bowl future ticket. It's probably the best NFL futures year I've ever had in terms of win totals, division winners, Super Bowl, stuff like that. The regular season, the week by week picks against the spread were not good this year, right around 50%. I was very disappointed, but the futures were great.
Well, a lot of people had some bad seasons with the picks. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of pros got beat up as well with what happened in the regular season. Congrats on that ticket. Tell people about the college basketball contest.
Oh, you don't want to miss this. The Circa College Hoops Challenge. JVT and I will be unveiling this entire thing on the Friday night show. It's going to be the third year of the contest. We're going to have 10 rounds beginning this Saturday and a total of 50 plays in this contest. We got 15 handicappers.
Yes.
Some of the sharpest college basketball minds out there. And Derek Stevens, Mike Palm, going to put a couple prizes up for grabs from Circa. We've got Dom DeMarco's gift certificate too. And like you said, it's not a $25,000 contest like the football deal, but if you want to get into college hoops handicapping, you don't want to miss this, because the Circa College Hoops Challenge picks will be out on the VSiN Pro email late every Friday night. Saturday morning, we'll announce some of the picks on the Friday night show or the Saturday morning show. And some of the guys in it: Will Hill, the 2023 champ; David Deneen, last year's champ. We got Ron Boyles, longtime Las Vegas pro. How about Bobby Buckets Brubeck out of Austin, Texas; Chris Massaro, Aaron Moore, Tim Murray, Greg Hoops Peterson, JVT, myself, Wes Reynolds, and a lot more. So we got 15 handicappers. Well, each have 5 plays on the Saturday card for each of the next 4 Saturdays, and then we're going to ramp it up for the NCAA tournament in March.
That's great. I love the Friday night show. I'm looking forward to that. What would you do right now, available down the street, SEC against the field? It's now Pick'em.
Yeah, Chris Andrews opened this prop at the South Point, and I grabbed the sheet, and the price on the sheet no longer exists because Chris opened the field minus 160 on January 27th. And we're sitting here about 2 weeks later, and it's close to a pick'em price. But with the SEC, I've already got a couple futures on teams in the SEC, including Alabama at 20-1. Let's see, you get Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri. Let's see who else would be a factor in there. Tennessee, Texas A&M. And those are the teams with a legitimate shot. Outside the SEC, you're going to look at maybe teams like Duke, Michigan, Michigan State, Purdue, a few in the Big 12. This is not much outside the Big 12 or outside the SEC to get excited about. I think Pick'em is probably the right price. I would not have made the field a favorite.
Okay.
And at that point, I think the SEC at plus 140 was probably a pretty good bet. I think Pick'em's probably the price. And if you force me to take SEC or the field of Pick'em, I think I would take SEC, Paul.
Yeah, I'm with you. Lenardi has 13 teams in right now, latest bracketology. He has Tennessee, Auburn, Bama as 1 seeds. Florida's a 2, A&M's a 2, Kentucky's a 4, Ole Miss is a 5, and Miss State's a 7. With those seeds, It's incredible. What did you play tonight on the hoops card?
You know what's funny, too? When you get to the SEC tournament, you're going to have a team seeded like 7th or 8th that's going to be a 3 or 4 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yes,
yeah.
Right.
Something like that. Well, on tonight's card, it's a little bit complex because overnight I did bet St. John's at minus 140. I think it was 140 on the money line. I felt like that was a pretty square play. And I did come back with Villanova plus 3. So I'm just kind of shooting for a middle on that game because I had some regrets about the St. John's bet. That game actually tipped early. I think it just tipped a little while ago. So it's a little too late to get in on that game. But St. John's been a great story, and that's another team I have the future on at 80-1. St. John's 21-3, 12-1 in the Big East. And actually, if you look at the losses for the Johnnies, by 1 at Creighton, by 1 in double overtime to Baylor, and by 3 points to Georgia. 3 losses by a total of 6 points. That's what St. John's has got this season. We're going on the road to Villanova against a desperate team tonight, and it looks like Villanova might have an early lead. I see according to the score update there. A couple ugly dogs I like in the card tonight. How about South Carolina? This team's still searching for a win in the SEC. There was 5 out there. It looks like the 5 and the 5.5 have disappeared. That game comes up at 4 o'clock. South Carolina 4.5-point dog now to Ole Miss. I think that's an ugly dog. You could probably find reasons to bet. And late tonight in the Mountain West, JVT and I talked about this on the show last night.
God bless you.
Wyoming was a 17.5-point favorite when you and I were talking about this game on the show last night. And I thought, man, this number might tick up to 18.5. It went the other way. Sharp money in the market on the Wyoming Cowboys, who have lost 3 in a row. But they lost by 2 at San Diego State, 4-point game to Utah State. Really good coach in Sundance Wicks. The leading scorer, Obi Agwam, is back. He averages 17.6 a game, shoots 44% from 3. Again, when these teams met on January 7th, it was one of the worst beats of the season if you had Wyoming, plus 7.5, led by 14 at halftime and ended up losing by 8 with some late-game hijinks.
Okay.
New Mexico 20-4 right now, 12-1. The Mountain West, really a dangerous team. Donovan Dent, one of the best guards in college basketball. One loss actually The one blowout loss for New Mexico was actually at St. John's in November, Patino against Patino in that one. But no, I think the two ugly dogs you can look at in the card tonight would be South Carolina and Wyoming.
All right, excellent. Follow the money. Paulie and JVT, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Matt Human's our guest. Follows us every night. Off tonight. He's on the Progressive guest line. How about any golf that you played at the Genesis?
Is JVT allowed to talk in this segment, or you got?
Paul's got it. Paul's got it. I'm also watching this basketball game, so I don't really mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I thought maybe he's handicapping some NBA games to start. You know what? I know you had Indy Jeff Seeley on. He's a great golf handicapper. Wes Reynolds, Matt Grill, Brady Cannon. There's a lot of guys out there who do a great job golf handicapping. And I think a lot of guys this week are in Colin Morikawa. He's been a money pit and for a lot of golf bettors. But he's got 2 top 5s at Torrey Pines. Don't forget this Genesis Invitational was moved from Riviera Country Club to Torrey Pines because of the fires around Pacific Palisades in that neighborhood. So we're going to play at Torrey for the second time in 4 weeks. Morikawa has 2 top 5s here. I bet him top 10 at plus 130 and to win at 16-1. Take a shot. I'll tell you the player who I think, and Matt Grill of DraftKings said this on her show last night, and I agree. He said Rory should probably be the favorite or the co-favorite. It's going to rain on Thursday and Friday in San Diego. That Torrey Pines course is going to be soft and wet. You need somebody who's long off the tee. So you got to look for bombers here because it's a long course, even when it's not wet. And Rory has been a monster off the tee. And Rory's been putting it well. You got to look for guys who put well on the Poa annua greens. Rory plus 170 top 5 and to win. Circa having it at about 8-1 last night. So actually played them both. Top 20 bets in the golf tournament. Played some guys who were long off the tee as well. How about Wyndham Clark plus 240, Cameron Young plus 210, Minwoo Lee plus 180, and then a former San Diego State player, J.J. Spahn at plus 230. J.J. was playing really well in the tournament in Honolulu a couple weeks ago, and he's been competitive. So that's what I got on the golf card. And Paul, don't forget the Circuit College Hoops Challenge Friday night. JVT and I tip it off with 15 handicappers.
Great plug. Good job. Congrats on the future. Talk to you soon. Go get them.
Thanks, brother. You bet.
It's good to talk to you, Matt.
Yep. Looking forward to that Fridays. That's awesome.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Oh, I love the Friday night show, too. I mean,
the Circa Friday Football Invitational.
Yeah.
Every single Friday if you're in football season. Absolutely great.
Nova's up 10. What do you see?
This is why I brought up the shooting, right? Because if St. John's, one of the worst shooting teams in the country, is going to get hot and still trail, then that's going to be a problem. And we mentioned this too. Now, I brought this up in the UConn game because remember they trailed early against UConn, and then they came storming back because their defense is good enough. But Villanova's shooting the ball pretty well, Paul. And if you can't shoot, it's hard to get out of deficits if you're a team like St. John's. So I know that there might be a thought of potentially coming in on St. John's, but I think you make the case here to potentially either further back Nova if you don't have anything else, because I don't know if you're going to be able to shoot your way out of this outside of maybe shutting Villanova down. And if that's the case, maybe an in-game under.
Which is 148.5 now. Yeah, Nova 5.5 for the game. And Rutgers and Iowa underway, 10-7. Rutgers, they're 6.5 in play, 158.5. 5 minutes in. Yeah. What's underway? In pocket, what we're betting coming up next. And the NBA prop analyzer. Always up there at VSiN.com. We'll share who's hot, who's not, and what to bet with those props as well coming up. VSiN, Follow the Money, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM, Channel 158, Paulie and JVT.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.